That sounds like it would be real good. So, hello, everybody out there in radio land, everybody out there online. Thank you for tuning in with The Divide with Marcus C. Williams. We are here in your ear having the conversations that you need to hear on WRFZ 106.3 Rochester Free Radio. Thank you for tuning in this week. You are listening to the #1 conservative news and radio talk show in New York State. Let's make it the whole country. All right, as we jump in here, we're going to have a couple of conversations, some about some local stuff, some about some international stuff, some about some interpersonal stuff. So let's get into those important conversations. And I really want to jump into this real quick. If you guys are watching us online, please hit the likes, hit the thumbs up, even just drop a comment, just do a thumbs up in the comment, an American flag, whatever. Say, hey, I'm listening. Hey, I support you. Hey, I like you. And if you do want to support the show, if you're listening to us on the radio, you can always go to Rochester Free Radio on Patreon, and you can donate on there. Just put The Divide, and that'll go to credit for our show. If you're watching online, you can check out either sides of these screens right here or down below. So that's how you can help support the show. You guys, we are in the midst of a whole bunch of different issues in our country. One that has recently came to the forefront, or should I say recently come to the forefront, is the Saracens that are inside our nation. Marcus, what is a Saracen? A Saracen is one of those Muslims from one of those sand countries. Now people say, Marcus, what do you mean one of the sand countries? I mean, the ones from the sand countries seem to be the ones that we have the problems with. If you've never noticed, all of the countries that have the Muslims that have sand, Saudi Arabia, okay, Qatar, okay, what do you call them? Palestine, all of those other countries, all of them, all of the Middle East, wherever there's sand, Iraq, Libya, all of the people that seem to come here from over there seem to give us problems. We need to ask ourselves why. Even North Africa, even North Africa. And if you look at these countries, you'll say, well, Marcus, you call them the sand countries. Well, why did I call them the sand countries? Because they're all sand. And you need to ask yourself, why are all those countries sand? Those countries are sand because they're cursed by the Lord. They didn't all used to be sand. They didn't. Then the Muslims took over and they turned the sand into sand, and the desert expanded, and expanded. Now you can tell me why. I don't know. I can't tell you for sure why that curse was put on them, but I got quite a few different thoughts. One, because they've corrupted the religion that came from Christianity, allegedly, according to them. That's what the Muslims claim, because Jesus is one of their major prophets, but all of their teachings are corruptions. And that's not a big deal, that's a problem, right? For sure. But when you go to another country or they come here, that part is not what the problem is. We're a nation that has many people of many different religious backgrounds and different things like that. And that's very notable in our country. But the fact of the matter is specifically, and I go back to these specific countries, like you don't really hear about somebody from Indonesia that's a Muslim coming over here and causing problems. I'm sure that there are, but that's not like a common trait or a common theme, right? So why is that? Why is it that these Saracens are the ones that come over here trying to topple our government, trying to make themselves as though they are superior to us, trying to take over our townships, our counties, and our states, and try to enforce and inflict their will based on their religious principles on us as Americans, which America is a Christian nation? You have to ask yourself this. And then when you ask yourself this, I want you to really ask yourself, why is there so much pushback from these atheists and these, I guess, I don't even know what you want to call them, Zionists, Judaizers, all of them, okay? Why is there so much pushback from them, the ones that are in power, not the ones that just go off and practice their religion and mind their business? Because there's different wavelengths of that, okay? But the ones that are in power are always trying to either push themselves and insert themselves inside Christianity, okay, and inside Christian thought process, or they're trying to corrupt Christianity or push it out of our schools, of our government, of everything. And then we wonder why, as a nation, we are struggling so much and having issues as a nation. It's because they've taken God out of everything, because they've taken Christianity out of everything. And then they want to tell you, oh, you need to be more tolerant. Who's being tolerant of Christians? We got Christmas, and they want to take Christmas out of Christmas. I ain't never heard them say that they want to take Diwali out of Diwali. You understand what I'm saying? I like Diwali, no, anybody, Festival of Lights, all of that Hindu nonsense that people like to say is the best thing because they believe it's the best thing. Again, that's their personal belief. But when they get to have their stuff, or you get to have Eid, but I can't have Christmas, are you playing in my face, bro? Like, that's because they want to take Christ out of everything. This started back when, if you guys remember, they started to try to push happy holidays, and then they tried to push Xmas. Xmas is what it was when I was coming up, when I was real little. They wanted to say, oh, well, it's Xmas. Everybody say Xmas. Don't say Christmas because it might offend somebody. I don't care who Christ offends. You understand what I'm saying? If Christ offends you, you are the problem on this planet. You need to turn to Jesus Christ, and you need to look to him and his teachings so that you can get closer to the Lord our Father. That's not a me problem. That's a you problem. You understand what I'm saying? But you want to take Christ out of Christmas. Okay? How come you don't take Muhammad out of Eid? How come you don't take the Hindu gods out of Diwali, or what's the other one that I like? I forget. The different festivals. They got a ton of different festivals. You don't take none of them out of the Hindu festivals. You don't take none of that out, that away, but you want to take Christmas away from the Christians and say happy holidays. You can take your happy holidays and your Xmas and you can shove it in your behind hole. Ain't nobody trying to hear none of that. You understand what I'm saying? Yesterday was the start of Advent, okay? And if you're Christian and you're Orthodox or Catholic, you know what that is. If you're Protestant, you may or may not know what it is. If you don't know what it is and you're Protestant, please go look it up. Advent is very important to us. Okay, even though we might be Protestant. Somebody's dropping comments. I'm going to get to your comments in a couple of seconds, but please hit the share button, hit the retweet button, hit the subscribe button. Definitely hit the subscribe and follow button. I see a lot of y'all out there watching. Just hit that like button. It don't cost you nothing. So as we talk about this very important issue, which is the Christianification of our nation, we need to talk about how integral Christianity is to our nation and to our founding principles and values. I really wish that I didn't have to go over this, but it seems like Christians that are now standing up are being ridiculed for standing up against Islam, because it's not that they're standing up against Islam itself, right? They're being ridiculed because they're standing up against Islam, forcing itself on us as Christians and into the political arena. You look at places like Dearborn, Michigan, and other places in Minneapolis and Minnesota and stuff like that, where all of these Muslims are taking over and stuff. I remember one of the first things that they did when all of the leftist alphabet people voted in the Islamists, right? Not regular Muslims, Islamists, right? The people that want to force Islam on everything and recraft the culture of America to Islam. That's not okay. But all of these leftist liberals and alphabet people voted them in. What they do the first time that they got in there? They got rid of all the alphabet flags. They got rid of Pride Day. They got rid of all of that. All of that. Okay? They got rid of all of that. Y'all not awake yet? Hello? Let me tap this microphone. Make sure y'all can hear me out there. You understand what I'm saying? Somebody needs to have a wake-up call. This religiosity, or whatever you want to call it, this foreign religiosity that's being pushed and peddled into our nation is more than just about religion. It's about culture. It's about politics. That's what their religion is all about. And they're trying to change and recraft our nation in their own personal image. And that's a serious issue, because they've tried to take Christianity out of everything. And if you talk about Christ, oh my goodness, that is the end of the absolute world. You can't talk about Jesus Christ. They will shun you. They will say, oh, don't talk about that. You can't say praise the Lord. They don't even want you to say God bless you. People get mad when you say God bless you. You tell me God bless me. You know what I'm running around telling people? I'm praying for you without your permission. May you come to Jesus. And this is something that we really need to talk about, because we as Christians have lost our strength and lost our willingness to actually stand up and speak up when God commands us to prepare for his triumphant return, where he will come back as a warrior king to set all that is unrighteous right and to dispel all that is evil from this earth. Like, are we not as Christians supposed to stand up right now? Like, I don't know where this lily-livered, pushover, pansy, poofy, foo-foo Christianity came into play. Okay, some people say that it was the Judaizers that tried to push that into Christianity. Some say it was the atheists. Some say it was the secret societies. Some say it was just the 13 powerful families that rule the whole world that have done it to corrupt Christianity so that they can weaken it, so that they can start to more so control and be more powerful over more things. Listen, I can't tell you who did it, what did it, if it was all of them working together or in tandem, or if it was all of them working separately, because the end goal is the same. They all want to tear down Christianity. They all want to tear down our country. It's all about segmenting our forces as Christians, and Christians need to stand up and Christians need to rise. Now is the time for Christians to be bold. Now is the time, as we see the evil growing continuously in our nation, as we see the Saracens take over more and more towns, take over more and more churches, forcing their way throughout our nation, going out here, taking over streets, marching in parades with Hezbollah flags, with ISIS flags in our nation, as if they are some foreign country, foreign adversary trying to take over our nation. These people don't want to assimilate. They don't want to incorporate. Okay, they want to destabilize and they want to take over our nation. And we as Christians need to stand up and we need to speak up. Now, more than ever, it's very, very important. Very, very important. You know, and I was sitting back and I was thinking about it. You guys, real quick, I see a lot of people watching. Hit that subscribe button, hit that like button. It don't cost you nothing. Drop a comment. I'm going to answer your comments, try to pop your, thank you. I see the thumbs up. I'm going to try to pop your comments up on the screen. And if you're online, you can always support by checking this out right here on the sides or down there in the little banner down there. And if you're on Facebook, you can send some stars. Okay, this is important. As a nation that was founded on Christian values and Christian principles, the rise of Islamification in our nation is a very serious problem. Now, I want to make sure and make clear that me talking about Islamists versus people who just practice Islam are two different things, but they're the different sides of the same coin. Because when the Islamists get into power, the regular people that practice Islam are just like, okay, it's okay because we practice it too. Well, no, it's not okay. Because if the regular people that just practiced Islam stood up against the Islamists, we wouldn't be having this problem right now. We wouldn't be having this problem. They're out there trying to say, oh, well, you know, we're going to Islamist. We're going to change everything to Islam in this nation, in these different states and stuff like that. And nobody's going to say nothing and people are not going to stand up. Christians, where is your backbone? Christians, where is your spine? When will you stand? Now is the time. We must stand. We are commanded by the Lord our Father and by Jesus Christ our Savior to actually stand up and push back. Hold tight 2 seconds, y'all. We're the outlet. We're commanded to stand up, but not enough people are. And this is a big, big problem. Let's hit some of these comments real quick. Let's see what we got going on. We got, what's that say? Who's that? Simpson. OJ Simpson says, Holland, my brother. Okay. Let's see. We got a couple more comments here. We need to stop making, who's this? Hoopla. We need to stop making religion a focal point of our country. Let's address that for a second. Stop making religion a focal point of our country. What does that even mean? Like, let's be honest. Okay. Our nation was founded on Christian values and principles. And for you to say that, oh, well, we should stop making it a focal point is to disregard completely how much so religion impacts the laws of our nation and the direction that these Islamists are trying to take our nation. Period, point blank. So for you to say that That's counterproductive to the direction and the focus we need. We need to make it less of a focal point. Well, if we ignore it, then it's going to be more of a problem. Let's see. Somebody says, Jason says, true. Just seeing you scrolling by. Love you, brother. I appreciate you. And I love you too, good brother. If you guys want to hit the subscribe button, please subscribe and follow my page. We got some more comments coming in. Let's see what else we got here. Okay, it won't scroll down that far. But as the comments come in, we'll pop them up. Make sure that you share this out on your page and everywhere else, because we need to talk about these important conversations. And the Islamification of our nation is a major one. Now, you'll say, well, Marcus, isn't there so much else going on? Yes, you guys, that is part of the very important conversation. This is why we must talk about this. This is why there's so much coming on all at one time. And let me be very clear. These Islamists are being used as a tool against our nation to separate and divide our nation. Okay? Why? Because it serves the families that are in power above all on this planet. The 13 ruling families, you know, all of the ones, you call them whoever you want to. We know who they are. You know, people like to say, oh, well, you know, it's the Jews that control everything, or whatever the case is. Is it? I don't know. It's the 13 families that control everything. You know, are the 13 families Jews? Well, you research that yourself. Now, the question is and this is a problem, because we can't have a conversation that separates the people who are Jewish of their heritage in Europe, very specifically. This is an important conversation in Europe, versus people who practice, okay, Judaism as a religion. And people don't want to separate the two, and they want to always overlap them. And that is a problem. And that's why they try to say everything is anti-Semitic, everything is anti-Semitic, when it's not. Okay, because they feel like they can hide under this concept. Oh, if you talk about Israel, oh, you're anti-Semitic. Why would talking about another country be anti-Semitic? Well, hold on. You want to tell me that America can't be a Christian nation, but you're going to identify a whole nation of people that is very diverse in background, where a lot of the people there are Muslim. You're going to tell me that that whole country, when that country is mentioned, is all about the Jews? Make it make sense to me. I saw Netanyahu get on the TV the other day, and he was talking about, oh, they're attacking Jews in Israel. Are they, or are they attacking Israelis? You understand what I'm saying? So there is a conversation that needs to be had there, but we can't have that conversation. We can't have that conversation. And because we can't have that conversation, we can't talk about the people that are really truly in power, who they are using as assets to manipulate everything in our country and in the world. We can't talk about that. We can't talk about the Habsburgs. We can't talk about which is crazy. You can't talk about what them people called the Lehmans. You know what I'm saying? You can't talk about any of these people, because when you start talking about them, people are like, oh, well, no, you can't talk about that because that's anti-Semitic. Is it my fault that the people that are doing all of these things somehow have some lineage to being some sort of Ashkenazi? Is that me? Is it me? It's my fault, so I can't talk about them because of that. Why? Why is that? You understand what I'm saying? And if you guys really trace it back further than that, they're not. They're not what we would consider all to be Jews, the ones that are in power. And that's a whole nother conversation. That's a whole nother conversation. But we can't even get to that part of the conversation, because people don't want to have that part of the conversation. Because whenever you bring up the term Jew or anything about that, people get really squirrely. Really squirrely. So when we get down to it, there are 13 families that really rule and control the majority of the world. That's it. They control almost all of the markets. They control all of the money behind the scenes and everything. Okay. And you can trace a lot of them back to the Caucasus, which that's a whole separate conversation. You can trace them back to Syria and stuff like that. So you can trace them back hundreds and hundreds of years, some even thousands of years that we know about. And this is a problem. Through empires rising and falling, you can always find them in the background. But how come we can't have that conversation? You know, because it's really them that are hiding behind the mask, calling themselves Jews, even though that they are not. And then it gives the whole Jewish people a bad rep for the few that nobody can condemn, because if you condemn them, you're anti-Semitic. If you condemn any bad practices that are associated with their group, you're anti-Semitic. Well, wait a second. If I condemn usury, okay, and all of the bankers, which I do, y'all know I don't mess with usury at all. I think that that's a very serious thing that we need to make sure that we get rid of and eliminate usury in the United States of America. If I associate the usury with the bankers and I say the bankers are bad, the banks are bad because they're overcharging us, and because they're overcharging us, it's creating a serious situation where we have an issue, and because of that issue, people are having like no money. People are having like no money because usury is stripping away all of the funds from them. It's ridiculous. But we can't talk about the crazy interest and stuff like that. Then if we talk about the interest and stuff, we have to talk about the bankers. And then if you talk about the bankers, you have to talk about the people in control of the banks. Don't talk about the people that are in control of the banks, because then it's a problem. Because then it's a problem. Because then we start to realize how few and segmented groups there are that really control the money, the industries of gold and precious gem trade. We talk about the people that control the media and stuff like that, and the corporations and the people who own those corporations and the people who control the surveillance apparatus in our nation. And all of them seem to have some lineage to trace back to the Ashkenazis. Well, why is that? Why can't we talk about that? Why can't we talk about that? That's a problem. That's a problem. The same way I talk about the Muslims, I want to talk about the people that are behind the power that are pushing this, because I'm going to tell you this right now. And you mark my words, you save this clip, okay? Clip this video, save this part, okay? Mark my words. I am telling you, those who are in power behind the scenes that are in the government of Israel are pushing this anti-Islam stuff. They are pushing these Islamists into these countries because what they want is they want to push all of the people who identify as Jewish to come back to Israel so that they can work to rebuild the temple and they can usher in their Messiah, which is really the Antichrist. But can we talk about that? Can we have that conversation? I'm telling you right now, from my mouth to your ears, the people that are high up and influential in the Israeli government, in the Israeli politics behind the scene, the Israeli elite are pushing all of this Islamist nonsense all into Europe, all into America, so that they can work to destabilize our country and push this narrative of anti-Semitism so that they can push all of the people that identify as Jews back to the nation of Israel so that they can start to rebuild the temple so that they can be more stronger as a nation. Okay? Because they want to usher in the Antichrist. The Antichrist is their Messiah. Read the Bible, read Revelations, y'all. They've already sacrificed a red heifer. They're trying to push this stuff and do this to usher in the end of times, you know? And I'm going to be very honest. Very honest. I don't believe, as we are in Advent and we have to have hope as Christians for Jesus's return and his triumph over evil on this earth, I'm telling you right now, these people are straight evil. Straight evil. And somebody needs to say something about what's going on. But you can't talk about Israel and the people pulling the strings behind the scenes, but you can talk about the people in the government in the US behind the scenes pulling the strings. Well, you can, unless they're related to some entity that's related to Israel. And I don't want this to seem like this is an anti-Israel conversation or anything like that, because really I don't care. My issue with them is that they're always involved in taking our money as a nation. They're always involved in our politics. And I don't like any foreign nation that people have loyalty to another foreign nation and them being involved in our politics. I don't want Mexico involved in our politics. I don't want Canada involved in our politics. I don't want Ireland involved in our politics. No offense to Ireland. You understand what I'm saying? I don't want any of these people involved in our politics. We as a nation have to have a focus on our own people. But we got a whole nother country that's wormed its way so far up our own government's behind that it's manipulating and puppeting our government from the inside out. Okay? So I don't like the fact when people say, oh, well, it's the Jews. Okay. No, because there are a lot of aspects of this. So if you're going to say that, you need to identify which group. Are you talking about the whole? Are you talking about Israel? Because if I'm going to say Israel, I'm going to talk about the nation of Israel, the country of Israel. You understand what I'm saying? And when I talk about them, I'm talking about their government. I'm talking about their elite. I'm talking about their people in power. The same way I talk about Europe and I talk about the European Union, I'm talking about them. The same way I talk about Germany, I talk about the German government, I'm talking about them and their government. When I talk about the German government, it don't mean that, oh, you're anti-German, you're against the German people. No, that's crazy. That's crazy talk. Okay? But whenever you bring up Israel, that's a problem. But it shouldn't be. It shouldn't be, bro. And when we have the real, honest, and true conversation, you look at who pushed all this leftism. You look at, if it's any type of ism on the end of it, that's got to do with the left, transgenderism, alphabetism, okay, pedophilia, which is also the lowering of the ages of consent, okay, and the missing children, but we can't talk about that. All of this stuff is tied to people that have connections with Israel. Lately, can we talk about that? And if it's lately and we can prove that, and we know that, and that's a widely held understanding, how come we can't have that conversation? If they say it in different venues like speeches and symposiums and stuff like that, if they can talk about it openly, what they're doing inside our nation, what their history has been inside our nation, how come we can't talk about that? Somebody's got to make it make sense to me. Somebody's got to make it make sense to me. But I'm bringing this whole thing full circle. I am telling you out of my mouth to your ears that the country of Israel, the people that are really in power behind the scenes of Israel, the people that are really in power behind the scenes of the world, okay, all of these people are pushing this Islamist nonsense. Not Islam. I need to be very clear on that. That's why you don't see ISIS attacking Israel. That's why you don't see these other pop-up groups that are these different groups that are Islamist groups attacking Israel. You saw ISIS many times apologize if they even incurred a little bit on Israel or hurt an Israeli citizen, even a little bit. ISIS, you know what I'm saying? Like, are we serious? Like, can we have that conversation? No, you can't have that conversation. We can't have that conversation because the people behind the scenes that are really manipulating everything will manipulate everyone. And they will do what they want. They will continue to push what they want on you. And they will do anything to make it so that you don't know, that you can't talk about what's going on. But there is a great awakening right now. But I am very concerned that we've got two different pushes going on right now. One are the people that are that are real, like very against the Jews. Okay, and anything they blame the Jews for everything. I'm not going to say that they're wrong on what they're blaming them for or not. I'm just going to point that out because the second part is a little different. And then you got the people that blame specifically individuals and blame specifically the nation state of Israel. Okay, and those are not necessarily equivalent or not necessarily the same people. And that's something that we need to have a conversation about, because I think that what a lot of people don't realize is, again, the people that are in power behind the scenes are the ones that are manipulating all of this. This anti-Semitism, who does it serve to benefit? Israel. Like, we can't have that conversation because I was reading an article it was in the Jerusalem Post the other day. It said, oh, the fear for being Jewish is at an all-time high around the world. Netanyahu is encouraging everybody to come back to Israel. I said, see, this is exactly what I've been talking about. It's really them behind the scenes maneuvering everything, you know? And then if you listen to some of and I know not everybody likes the Catholic Church, but the Catholic Church has been right on a lot of things historically, okay? Not all the things, don't get it twisted, okay? But on a lot of things, because, you know, they do have some strong brothers and sisters of the faith in the Catholic Church, you know? And I wish I could remember the bishop's name. Oh, my goodness. I believe he's passed on now, but he was talking and he was like, you know, and he was saying, you know, a lot of these Jews that are in power, it's not all the Jews, right? But when somebody says that, people think that it is, and that's a problem. because it's not. Because he said, what, like, there are always those that are noble Jews that are ones that want to do what's right and want to be strong. And they think that all of this is really against the scripture of the Torah, because a lot of it is. But we can't have that conversation because we got these Talmudic Jews and the, what's the other one with the M? I forget all of these different books that they have that are extra, that are not part of the Torah and all this other stuff. Excuse me for not remembering to recall to tell you guys. And the Kabbalah, and I forget the other ones. There's a couple other ones, you know. So, but these are a serious conversation. The people that are pushing these Islamists are the same ones that are pushing Israel to take more ground, to do more activity, to take money and take influence in the United States. And that needs to be talked about, because these Islamists are a problem. These Islamists are a serious problem. They've been pushed into our country. They've been pushed into Europe. Why? Because of destabilization in the Middle East. Destabilization in the Middle East. Who benefits from destabilization in the Middle East? I wonder who benefits from destabilization in the Middle East. Could it be Israel? No, couldn't possibly be that. Couldn't be a strong Egypt would be a problem for Israel. Couldn't be a strong Syria would be a problem for Israel. Couldn't be a strong Jordan would be a problem for Israel. Couldn't be a strong Lebanon would be a problem for Israel. Couldn't be a strong Libya would be a problem for Israel, right? Like, none of these nations that are all right by them, any of them being a very strong nation, couldn't be a problem for them, could it? Oh, yes, but it is. And it would be. And look at all of the countries we've destabilized, right? As the American war armada pushes forward. And you guys know me, I'm very much so against all types of foreign wars if the United States of America isn't taking ground. If we're not going to actually take these countries and incorporate them in the United States of America, we have no business over there. Right now, we're about to go to war or blow up Venezuela or whatever we're going to do there, surgical strikes or whatever. We don't got no business. We don't got no business in Venezuela unless we're taking over Venezuela, period. And I'm not talking about putting a puppet dictator in there. I'm talking about unless America itself is going to annex Venezuela and incorporate it into the United States of America, we don't have any business messing with Venezuela. We definitely don't have any business dropping bombs on them. And we for sure ain't got no business putting, I don't even care if it's a surgical strike team or a wet work team in there. Period. Full stop. Okay? Full stop. And we got to get away from this concept. Oh, we're fighting for righteousness. We're fighting for virtuism. I don't care about none of that. I don't care about none of that. Oh, we are the noble victors. No, I don't care about none of that. You ain't got no business. We got all of this stuff in our country. We need a crusade inside our country because we got all these Islamists in our country trying to topple our country. And we got all these other pagans and atheists and everybody else in our country trying to destabilize our country, talking about, oh, down with America and down with capitalism, up with communism and up with socialism. Absolutely not. All of these people need to be driven out of our country. Like, are you crazy? But we're over there fighting in other countries. Are you serious? I was watching the news the other night, and they've got all of these people down there in Brooklyn. I believe it was Brooklyn. I'm pretty sure it was Brooklyn. It might have been Queens, but I'm 99% sure it was Brooklyn. In Brooklyn, and the ICE officers are trying to get out to do an operation, and these fools and clowns have put all types of planters and stuff in the middle of the street, blocking traffic, blocking them from doing their operations that they need to do to preserve the integrity of our nation. All of them should be put in prison. Like, not jail, prison. And I'm not one of those people that be to just throw people in jail, throw people in prison. I don't trust the government. Number one, let's be very clear. I do not trust the government, not a little bit, not a lot of it. I don't trust the government further than I could throw it. And I can't throw the government at all. So that lets you know how much I trust the government. And I encourage you, no matter how much you distrust the government, you don't distrust the government enough. And people will say, oh, well, no, the government wouldn't do such and such. Oh, yes, they would. I encourage you to go look up the different CIA operations that have been done on the American populace that we know about that have been declassified. I encourage you to go look up the military operations that have been done on the American populace that are declassified that we know about. I encourage you to look up all the towns on the maps that do not exist there anymore because of military programs. I encourage you to look up all of the military biological weapons programs that have been performed inside the USA that have wiped out complete and entire towns that we know about. I encourage you to look up San Francisco when they spread that virus in the fog in San Francisco. And y'all wondered last time why I was talking about the fog that was happening during COVID here, because we seen that game play out. We got the released reports. Like, this stuff isn't conspiracy theory, it's conspiracy fact. And conspiracy theory, anybody that says something, oh, something's a conspiracy theory. Well, the CIA came up with that term to try to discredit anybody. But conspiracy is illegal on the state level and on the federal level. So you make it make sense to me. You guys are listening to The Divide on WRFZ 106.3. Don't touch that dial. Tell your friend, tell your family, tell your neighbors down the street to tune in. We are here every Monday, every week, 2:30 to 4 p.m. And if you guys are online, hit that share button, hit that like button. And if you'd like to support and you're on the radio, you can go on Patreon and you can donate to Rochester Free Radio and just put our show name in the comments, and that'll help the show. If you're online and you want to help out the show, you can check this out right over here, or you can check it out down in the banner. So I encourage you guys. This is important types of conversations that we need to have, but not enough people are having these conversations. Now, I want to get back to the ICE operations that are going on in our country, because it's very important. You understand? Let's talk about something for a second before we go back into that. 50-year mortgages. Let's talk about the 50-year mortgages, right? 50-year mortgages only benefit the bankers. I wonder who the bankers are. Can we have that conversation? Who's really in power behind these bankers? Okay, who's really in power behind this security and surveillance apparatus? No, we can't talk about that, you know. But anyway, back to these bankers pushing this 50-year mortgage. You'll be dead. Simple and plain. Average person age to go out and actually get a house is about 40 years old. 40 plus 50 is 90. 90 is generally a death age. You'll be dead by 70, I believe 78 is now the life expectancy in the United States of America. So we need to have a serious conversation about that. They expect you to pay until you're dead and then pay some more. You know, like, this is really ridiculous. If you're online, drop a comment. The comments don't cost you nothing. Drop a comment in the comments. All of the comments help to get the message out to more people, to show the videos to more people. Do that real quick. Take 2 seconds. Just say, I hear you. I love you. I see you. I don't care what you say. Say cuckoo, ka-choo, as far as I'm concerned, but drop a comment. Drop a flag, drop a thumbs up, whatever, it all helps. Now, as we have this conversation about this 50-year mortgage, I need you to understand what's happening to the housing market right now. It's in turmoil. It's going down. Because why? Well, because a lot of the places where there has been heavy housing activity has housed a lot of these illegal aliens. And now there are so many deportations and so many people are scared and self-deporting that a lot of the housing is starting to free up. But we can't talk about that. But if housing frees up, that means that housing prices, as far as rentals and as far as sales in certain income brackets, have to start to level out and lower down, because people just can't afford it, right? So it'll have to go down. But if you insert a 50-year mortgage, then you'll say, oh, well, the high housing prices are more affordable, so we don't have to lower housing prices. Well, that's crazy. That's crazy. Shave that 50-year mortgage. If it's up to me, get rid of the 30-year mortgage too. Okay, because then the housing market will have to moderate. Okay, it'll really hit rock bottom real quick. That'd be kind of crazy if they did that. But just don't put out a 50-year mortgage. Okay, to save the world, don't put out a 50-year mortgage. That's debt enslavement, and I promise you that's what they're looking for. They want you to own nothing and be happy. Remember we were talking about the ruling families? Okay, you talk about the World Economic Forum, all the super wealthy people there and stuff like that. And you know, a lot of the times, and I need to bring this into light, a lot of the times the people say, oh, well, it's the Jews, you know what I'm saying? But it's not just the Jews. It's these rich, super ultra wealthy sultans and stuff like that too, okay, that are really behind the scenes maneuvering everything, because they're all in it together. It's a cabal of the super affluent and old families that are really, really in it together, because they all worship Lucifer. At the end of the day, that's what it is. They're Satanists, they're pagans, they're heathens, okay? And they're all against us as a human race. And they don't care. They only want more control. And that's something we need to have a real serious conversation about. Hit that share button, hit the comments, drop some comments and we'll pop your comments up on the screen. Become part of the conversation. As we have this conversation about the lowering housing price costs, we need to also have the conversation that as the housing prices lower, they go lower and lower the more people we deport. But look at these crazy leftists in New York City and in other places, New York City especially, where they need the housing prices lowered so much, where they just elected a socialist because the housing prices are so high and he's promising them lower housing. Well, if we want lower housing, we got to get rid of all the illegals. Can we talk about that? No, we can't talk about that. Then we got the whole problem of the fact of the matter that not just the housing is impacted by the illegals, the Medicaid, the Medicare, all of that's impacted by the illegal, the Social Security, okay, all of that's impacted by the illegals, the schooling costs, the quality of education, all of that's impacted by the illegals. But can we have that serious conversation? I don't know that we can. When we should really be having this important conversation. Hit the subscribe button, hit the share button. Now, as we're having this conversation, who is actually going to want to hear it? That's the problem. Not enough people want to listen to it because it's a whole cohesive conversation. We've gone from the Islamists and their issues in our nation to the people that are pushing Israeli influence in our politics, to the bankers, to the 13 families behind everything, to going right back down to the illegal aliens. All of this is being put together so that they can destabilize our nation and drain our resources. Like, you got to wake up. It's a cohesive effort to drain the resources of our nation. Like I said, Medicaid, Medicare, Social Security, education resources, all of this, all of that. Okay? Affordable health care, all of that. Because all of those things rely on government subsidies. And the more people we have drawing from these government subsidies, the less government subsidies we have to go around for everybody, which is crazy to me because these people are out here talking about, oh, well, we want free healthcare for everybody. Okay, well, let's get rid of all these illegal aliens and then let's have a conversation about how that might look, because you don't want to get rid of the subsidies and actually address the subsidies that are given out to them right now in the Affordable Health Care Act. So this is a very, very serious problem. But can we have that conversation? No, because they don't want to have that conversation. Because if we had that conversation, it would be too much like right. It'll be too much like right. Now, I want to have a conversation about these important issues with as many people as possible. So please drop a comment down in the comments, share this out with your friends, pump up the conversation, get some thumbs ups out there on the screen, get some hearts on the screen, drop an American flag in the comments, drop a thumbs up in the comments so that it can circulate to more people. And as we're having this conversation on the draining of resources in our nation, we need to have a conversation about the continued deflection of everybody inside our country. Everything is misdirection, right? Because at the end of the day, what they want is they want you to own nothing and be happy. They want you to eat the bugs. They want you to eat the fake meat that's been made in labs. Didn't you guys hear the Campbell's Soup guy? The director of Campbell's Soup was like, oh yeah, our food is for the poors. Like, he came out and said it. Like I told you, go back and watch my other shows, y'all. Like I said, that these people just look at us like the poors and they don't want anything to do with us and they feel like we're the scum of the earth and all of this. And that's why they're doing all of this, to keep their affluence, because they feel so much better than us. And it's multiple tiers of that class, right? Like, you've got the entry-level wealthy, you know, the people that are $100 million and more. Okay. Then you got the super wealthy, which are like $1 billion, you know. Then you got the people that are hundreds and tens of billions of dollars and trillions of dollars. You know what I'm saying? People are like, oh, there's nobody trillions of dollars. You tell me that the Sultan of Saudi Arabia ain't worth $1 trillion. Shut your mouth. Oh, you understand what I'm saying? Don't tell me no nonsense like that. Especially the power that some of these people wield as families. Multiple trillions of dollars. Don't play with me. So we need to have these serious, important conversations because nobody else is going to have them. And I really hope that we can have these conversations more openly. I'm watching what's going on in Ukraine and how we're pushing for a peace deal there. I do believe very firmly, unless something pops off really weird, we will secure a peace deal very soon because Trump does want to go into Venezuela. I believe that for the most part, everything will be restricted in Venezuela to certain small actions until we resolve the peace settlement with Ukraine and Russia. Okay, unless something really weird happens out there. Now, like I said, America shouldn't be in that at all unless we're taking over Venezuela and incorporating it. But of course, we're not going to do that. I believe our soldiers deserve the spoils of war. You keep what you kill. Okay, I believe all of that. You understand what I'm saying? Like, for the history of warfare, you get to keep what you kill. Like, you mean to tell me that our soldiers are supposed to be highbrow above everything else, that they can't have spoils of war? That's unacceptable. I don't see that acceptable. And I don't understand how that's acceptable to anyone because we're supposed to be all morally virtuous. Stop it. Okay. I'm not saying that everybody can get spoils of war, but maybe the first and the boldest, the person who accrues the most of whatever is deemed the most important facet of an operation or something. Like, what are we even talking about? Like, where is the incentive? Like, our boys and girls just go off to war to get murdered up, and they come home and they get substandard quality service and stuff like that. Like, are we being serious? They deserve better. They deserve spoils of war. I really very much so believe that. And anybody that's got anything foul to say, I want you to understand and remember that I don't really support a lot of wars unless we're taking territory. And I don't support taking territory that we're not going to be able to hold. Okay? So be very mindful of that. But I stand by the fact that if we go into any country, we should take it over. Otherwise, we don't got no business there. I don't care if it's Afghanistan. I don't care if it's Iraq. I don't care if it's Libya. I don't care if it's Madagascar. You understand what I'm saying? No offense to Madagascar. I'm just using you as an example. But these are the conversations that we need to have. We seriously need to have these conversations because otherwise the wars will continue. The wars will continue. Nothing will happen. Nothing will change. And everything will stay exactly the same. Our men and women will go off. They'll die more. And now everything's going to digital warfare, information warfare, destructive sabotage through information technology, drones and stuff like that. Chemical warfare is on the comeback. I'm promising you, y'all better wake up. Y'all not ready for the chemical warfare. Soon they will use chemical warfare as an excuse of consolidating power. Okay, the same thing with COVID. COVID was a test, y'all. Okay, it was a massive test, just a weaponized flu virus, which many of us have been warning about for years, that they were weaponizing the flu. Like, we knew that the government was doing that. Like, the CDC has been very open about its experiments doing that. And it's not just the flu virus and the weaponization of that, the weaponization of a number of different viruses, Marburg, or what's the other one that causes those crazy diseases? The bleeding on the inside and the organ liquefaction. I forget what it's called, the one I'm thinking about, but it's a hemorrhagic disease. A West Nile virus. They're trying to take that and weaponize it. They're trying to do a whole bunch of stuff. You guys know that every month we drop hundreds of millions of mosquitoes in Panama and in Mexico. We don't know. You don't know about that. You don't know about that. Go look into that. Like, somebody should look into that. Like, so they bioengineer these mosquitoes to breed with these other mosquitoes that allegedly have these different larvae, bloatworms, and all types of other stuff that they want to kill, or they carry disease like chinga or whatever the other ones are called that might hurt people and stuff like that. Come on, stop it. Stop it. Okay, stop. Okay, that, first of all, just legitimately stop. Don't do that. You shouldn't be messing with the environment like that. That's a very serious problem. Plus, honestly, I do support burning all the mosquitoes in the world with fire because I'm in an eternal battle against the mosquitoes. I do not like them, but I do understand that they are a linchpin in most ecosystems. So, meh. But this is something that we need to have a talk about. But people don't want to have these serious conversations because we're actually talking about real stuff. And I encourage you guys, don't believe me because I'm saying it. Go look it up. Don't believe me because I'm saying it. Believe me because I'm telling you. I'm going out of my way to tell you, so it must be important to me. We can talk about these two people that were just murdered. Well, one person was murdered, and the other person was shot down. That were in the Washington D.C. Like we can talk about that. They were shot down by an Afghani that was brought in here, okay, and resettled here, and he worked for the CIA. Conspiracy theory or conspiracy fact? The man worked for the CIA, and he's out here taking out our security troops in Washington, D.C. Come on now. Come on now. You don't even got to be a conspiracy theorist to say that that smells. You know, like he actually worked for the CIA. Now, this goes back to our country having a history of doing wet work on our own citizens, just murdering our own citizens, assassinating our own citizens, the FBI, the CIA, all of them working against our people as a nation, taking out our own presidents, taking out our religious leaders, taking out political leaders. Okay. And I'm talking about more than people like just Malcolm X and JFK. I'm talking about more than just that. Okay. Like we need to really have some serious conversations. Waleed says, Waleed, what you got? Waleed says, Marcus, what's going on? Waleed, it's a pleasure to see you here, good brother. Please hit the share button, hit the like button. Okay, get this message out there. Drop any other comments. Be part of the conversation. I appreciate you, Waleed. Okay, so as we have these important conversations, like, I'm sorry, you guys. I'm not sorry. If I'm gonna sit here and tell you that it's suspicious that this guy that came from Afghanistan that worked for the CIA shot two of our security agents in Washington, D.C., and you don't see something smells amiss with that, stop it. Stop. You know, and they're using that under the auspices of heavier regulation, and they're probably using this as a false flag or something. Okay, it looks like a false flag to me, but it has given Trump the desire and the need to stop all of the all of the resettlement of people in Afghanistan and to restart deportations on more people and cut off more TPS and other programs and other stuff involving and especially now at the Afghanis. Now, I got to be honest, I'm sure they're out there. There are very bad Afghanis out there, but Afghanistan, the people from Afghanistan is one of the few countries over in the sand area where I've had really good positive experience with the people over there. You know, I've got stories of doing business with Turkish people. Don't ever do no business with Turkish people. Okay, scammers. Okay, I can't deal with that. You know, so always trying to get one up. Very difficult to do business with them. You got other people in the Middle East. I got tons of issues with people that have come from other countries over there. But another good country that I've had good experiences, and this doesn't mean that there aren't terrible people from there. I'm saying, just saying personally, I've had good experiences also with Egypt, with Egyptian Muslims. You understand what I'm saying? And I love the people. Like I was having some good conversations with some young ladies that were from Afghanistan just like a week ago before this even happened. And they were like, yeah, we're happy that we had America, someplace that we could come to and escape the Taliban and what's going on over there. We want to go back to our country and we would like to go back there. But with the administration, the way that it is right now and how it's unfavorable to women, we don't want to go back. And I love them. OK, that's my favorite type of people. You want to go back and you want to improve your country? 100%. I'm with you. I support you. How can we make that happen? OK. Because I want everybody to go back and make their country better like I want to make my own country better. You understand? So anybody that come over here and want to leave, okay, to make their country better, I'm with it. Okay, how do we make that happen? You know, so, but this goes back into what I'm talking about. So it's very interesting that what's happened after that. I'm not saying that, don't get it twisted. I'm not saying I don't support shutting down immigration from all third world nations. If you ever listen to me, I believe in shutting down immigration from everywhere for the next 10 years while we work on getting all of the people out of our country that are here on overstayed visas and are here illegally, and the ones that are on here that shouldn't be here. You know, like we need to do that. Full stop. But we can't really have that conversation. Again, they're a drain on our resources. They're a drain on our economic system. And then they send all of this money back to their homes. I understand they want to help their people or whatever the case is, but when that money is taken out of the American economy and it goes somewhere else, that is money that is taken out of the American economy. I need you to understand that when that money is taken out, it devalues your dollar instantly. Your dollar has less value because now that money is overseas. It's not working inside our nation. And now more money needs to be printed to cover that. Okay, I need y'all to wake up a little bit. This is why I was so in favor of Trump trying to put an extra tax on that, even though y'all know I don't love taxes. I hate taxes. But he tried to put a tax on sending money international to other countries. That's a great idea. I wish it would have gone through Congress. I'm so mad at all of the people that fought against it. Okay, I'm not very happy about that nonsense. Now, we do need to talk about a couple of more things. We got a little bit of time here, so we can go through all of this right now. Again, I am very concerned. Oh, it looks like I just got a notification. We got even more troops building up, it looks like, over in Venezuela, which to me shows that they are really confident that we're about to bring this thing in Russia to a close, which is kind of positive, but also kind of alarming because, again, we shouldn't be in Venezuela. I want to talk about the Pope for a minute because the Pope's pissing me off, you guys. I'm really mad at him right now. And some Catholics will be like, oh, he's the Pope. We love him so. He is terrible. Him, the one before him, terrible. These people were unbiblical. They went against scripture all the time. Okay, and they're supposed to be the leaders of the religion. Okay, they are apostates, and I don't care who feels some type of way about it. Because if you're not able to hold your own people to account, then you are the whole problem. This is the same thing I said about the Islamists versus the people who practice Islam in America. If they're not holding these Islamists accountable, then they're terrible. And if you're Catholic and you're not holding the Catholic Church accountable, then you're the problem. If these people are going out and violating scripture and you're supposed to be the leader of the Christians. Like I saw this guy go bow down to the tomb and honor the tomb of what's his name? Ataman, Atakam, Atakuba. I don't know the guy's name. I do know his name. I'm just, it's slipping my mind. The guy, the Turkish guy that conquested Constantinople and turned it from the Byzantine Empire or Christian Empire over to the Saracen people. Okay. I forget which Ottoman Empire, I think it was at the time, you know. I'm not happy about that. This is the Pope. Then the Pope the other day, he had threw a rave at one of the cathedrals. Like, what is wrong with you? What is wrong with you? You're no better than these people over there in Israel throwing raves in the desert that are filled with debauchery, drugs, and promiscuity. You're doing a rave at a Catholic cathedral? Like abomination. Like, are we serious right now? Can we have a conversation about that? Okay. And as Christians, going back to what I said earlier, we need to be bold enough to stand up and say, no, that's wrong. Jiminy Cracker Krispies. Not very happy about that. That's really why I wanted Cardinal Sarah to get in there. But hey, we got what we got right now. So as we talk about this, we have to look at what's happening in Europe. Okay, we have to look at the compromise of Europe and what's happening with all of these Islamists and people that are largely of military age that are men being pushed into these European countries and being pushed into the United States. It's a serious problem. And what is the Pope doing about that? The Pope said the other day, oh, you should welcome all of the immigrants. Shut up. Shut up. And anybody that feels some type of way, I want you to understand that you cannot become a citizen of the Vatican. How about that? Let's have that conversation. You go try to become a citizen of the Vatican or ask them to let you have safekeeping in there. And let's find out how difficult it is and how quickly they tell you no. So until the Vatican is about to open up all of its gates and all of its treasury for all of these people, okay, which they don't do that for Christians or even for other Catholics, I'm not trying to hear none of it. They need to be called out on it. Y'all got 50. How big are those tower walls outside the Vatican? The walls are like 50, 60 feet tall. And you can't become a citizen of the Vatican. Like, it's crazy. Like, and you're telling the Americans that we should let them in? Stop playing in my face. You're telling Europe that they should let them in? Stop playing in my face. I'm so glad that the Italian Prime Minister, what's her name? Oh, I like her a lot. Maloney, okay, or however you say her name. Y'all know who I'm talking about. I like her a lot. I can see her face. Its name is slipping me right now. But she's like, we got to fix our country. We got to get these people out of our country. Spain and Portugal are working on it too. And Spain and Portugal should have never let them people in to begin with. Did y'all not remember what happened when Islam took over Spain and Portugal? We had to have a whole giant war against them to push Islam out of Spain and Portugal. We had to have the Reconquista. You understand what I'm saying? Like, people forget this stuff and act like it never happened before. It's just a continuation of what happened before. And this goes back to back then. What happened over there? How did they take over the different towns and stuff like that? Well, before the Reconquista, when the Moors were attacking, the Jews betrayed the people that were in Portugal, that betrayed the people that were in Spain, and they were helping these people out as spies, and they were opening up the doors to the towns and the cities to let these people in. But we can't talk about that either. And then you wonder why they get kicked out of every country. History is important. And just talking on history doesn't make you anti-Semitic. It makes you a recognizer of the facts of history. I love history. Okay? I love history. And who thrived under the Muslim occupation of Portugal and Spain? Oh, yeah. The Jews that were there. Make it make sense. Again, European Jews, not people who were traditionally from the tribe of Judah or from the tribe of Israel. And that's a whole separate conversation for a whole nother video. I'm not going to get into that today. But we need to have these important conversations. So for me to say that I'm telling you right now that the people behind Israel's government that are really in Israel's government manipulating the government, that they're pushing all of this Islamist nonsense across the world, I'm telling you mark my words, it's going to come out that they're the ones that's pushing it. But we already know that they are. It's already come out. Who's funding these nonprofits that were letting all of these people, giving them water, giving them food, giving them lodging in South and Central America under the Biden administration? Who is in charge of all of these nonprofits? Somehow all of those nonprofits have connections back to Israel. Can we talk about that? Can we talk about that? No, we can't talk about that. I'm telling you, Israel's running a con game on us with all of these Islamists, okay? Why? Because it encourages other Jews to live in fear in other countries and makes them more likely to move back to Israel. It's very simple. You know what I'm saying? Honestly, if it wasn't such a detriment to us, I'd be kind of like, well done. I mean, it's a real strategic plan. It makes a lot of sense. It makes a lot of sense. It makes a lot of sense. But most people don't realize it. And you got a lot of the noble Jews that are out there that are just looking at it like, oh, we're all under attack because all of this and all of that. They're not recognizing that really it's the government of Israel and the backers of Israel that are pushing all of this to harm them, to scare them, to terrify them. It's the same way our government and our media, you pick who's in control of it this week, okay? The same way our government and our media does everything to keep us scared as American citizens. It's no different, just on a larger scale. You know, because if they can keep you in fear, you're easier to control. You're easier to manipulate. If they can keep you unstable, you're easier to control. You're easier to manipulate. I am interested in what's going on in Honduras because they're having an election. I think the election might be over. I don't know who won the election. But Trump just pardoned the previous president of Honduras who was on, I believe it was drug charges, and he was extradited to the United States and is there for 45 years. And Trump was like, oh, he was smuggling, he was charged with smuggling cocaine, and he was treated unfairly and stuff like that. I don't know, y'all. I don't know. That sounds a little fishy to me. It sounds a little fishy to me. It sounds like regime replacement in Honduras. It sounds like they're doing something fishy in Honduras. So it'll be interesting because Trump just came from behind closed doors a couple days ago and endorsed one of the candidates in Honduras's election. And he said, I wish somebody would mess with the election and my candidate doesn't win. Hey, man, that's a G move. I don't know what to tell you. You know, I'm kind of like, no. But he's like, yeah. And I'm like, hey, it is what it is. So that'll be very interesting to see what happens there. I'm waiting. We won't know. We won't know. And they're still counting the votes right now. So I just pulled it up. They're still counting the votes in Honduras. So we'll see what happens there. That's very, very concerning. Very concerning. We'll see. We'll see. I want to talk about a couple more things also because I'm concerned for our country. I want to go back to the Campbell's soup thing and how they were talking about they were using the fake meat and the engineered foods. They were like, yeah, we are using 3D printed meat because it's for the poor's. Nobody eats our food but the poor's anyway. And I'm like, Lord, help us. But listen, because they just told you they're using 3D printed meat and they didn't put it on the can, that should show you that we need some legislation about that. Hello, people, wake up. Honestly, I think a lot of this is they're feeding us people, but that's a whole nother separate conversation. Soylent Green, it's people, it's people. If y'all haven't watched the movie Soylent Green, go watch that movie. It's very important and critical to understand more of what's going on in our time. So it's very, very elucidating and illuminating. I guess illuminating would be another way to say that too, you know? So we should really have these type of conversations, but go watch that movie because in that movie, it was like at the turn of the 21st century, the government couldn't control the people anymore because of massive droughts and climate change and all of this and all of that. So they had to centralize power into small cities and push everybody into the cities. All of this sounds very familiar, like 15-minute cities. And they pushed them all and they tightly controlled everything, even the food supply, and the ultra wealthy lived awesome lives, and everybody else that was low on the totem pole, the poors, they couldn't even afford any real food and didn't even have any meat, and they were being subsided on this food that they called Soylent Green. And the Soylent Green was allegedly made from algae, and that was why it was green. But if you watch the movie, we find out that it was actually people. It wasn't algae. It was people the whole time. Now, I'm not ruining the movie for you. You got to go watch it. It's very important to go watch that movie because there's a lot in there. And it shows you exactly some of the tools that are being used against us here right now. You know, some other books to read while you're at it is Fahrenheit 451, Animal Farm, 1984 is another one as well. I got some more books that y'all could read, but all of these are fiction. But if you look at them, they're really panning out in reality. You know, their shirts and stuff, they say, make Orwell fiction again. Like, it's true. Now, I do want to talk about the situation in Nigeria with the Christians over there that are continuing to be executed and kidnapped. The children, they just kidnapped like 300 children. I heard like 75 of them escaped or something like that. But these Islamist terrorists over there are killing our Christian brethren. And now Trump is like, oh, we might go over there. And the guy from, what is it called? Blackwater? No, it's called something else now. I forget what it is. One of those giant military contracting people was like, yeah, I want to go over there. He's like, yeah, I want to go over there. Send me over there, Pope. Like the Pope would send them over there. I think the Pope is honestly in on it too. I can't prove that right now, and I don't have enough information to say that he is in on it, but I'm pretty sure he is because you know the Catholic Church is corrupted on the inside after watching a lot of the stuff that he's been saying and doing. So I'm sure that all of the people that say that the Jesuits, again, people behind the 13 ruling families and part of them, the Farnese and the rest of them, all of these families, y'all got to trace these lineages. We got to have real serious conversations. And if I start seeing more of you guys comment and stuff like that on my page and stuff like that, we will have these real conversations. I'll do whole episodes on this, a deep dive on these things. But y'all got to comment more so I know what y'all want to talk about. So we got a whole bunch of stuff going on in Nigeria. And now Trump is talking about possibly going in there. If Nigeria doesn't do something about these people going after all the Christians, they've been doing that for years. They were doing it when he was in office first time, but now all of a sudden it's an issue. Okay, maybe, but is there something else behind it? Is somebody pushing it? And it's interesting because all of these Zionists, all of the sudden are also for that too. So that's kind of got me a little bit leery, you know, like questioning it, like, like, yeah, I want to go over there and protect the Christians, but also something don't smell quite right. And I know Nigeria has some resources and stuff that we need and stuff like that. And I don't have any problem with that. Okay. I got some problem with Nigeria in general, but on the whole, I don't got no problem with it having minerals and us doing business with them and all of this and all of that. But I think that there's more going on there. I think it's really something to do with the Chinese and the Russians that are in Nigeria. But that's a much longer conversation for a whole nother episode, because they're all up, down, and through there in Nigeria, especially the Chinese. They're trying to interbreed with them and push the people out of there and stuff like that. It's really bad. It's really bad. And we need to have that serious conversation. We really, really do. We really do. Now, we look at stuff in our nation and we see things going wrong. And we see the people that are in power continue to manipulate the people on the ground. And this is why I always encourage you guys that we have to get active. We have to get active because nobody is coming to save us. It is up to us as a people to stand up and to speak up and to take action. Now, how can you do that? You got to start at the local level. You got to get involved locally. Go to a school board meeting, go to a county ledge meeting. Okay, go to any of these other numbers of planning board, fire district, other meetings. But people, you got to start getting active and be an active participant in civics and in our government, because our government's always going to be participating in you, like nobody wants that. So we got to stand up and we got to speak up. But in order to do that, we got to focus locally first, because that's where we as individuals can make the biggest change. Support a local candidate that you believe in, that you would like to help, or you can do join your local committee for whatever party you are. If you're Republican or Democrat, most cities or counties, if you don't have a city committee or a town committee, you'll have a county committee for the Republicans or the Democrats. Other smaller parties don't always have don't always have committees, but some of them do as well. Okay, so check that out. That's the smallest entry level that you can get into getting involved locally. If you are in Rochester, reach out to me. I'd be happy to help get you more politically active. We got to hold these people accountable that are passing these laws here locally, that are destroying our city, that are making it so the people that need services aren't able to get any help, that are allowing this crime to run wild, that are putting the money in the pockets of their friends, cousins, benefactors, and those who put money in their own coffers. We need to get active locally. But let's jump back into some stuff internationally. There was this guy from England. He came to the US and he was shooting some guns, right? Because in the US you can go gun range and go shooting. So he's shooting some guns in the US. He put the pictures on his social media. When he went back to England, they arrested him, talking about he's got guns and weapons and stuff. But he took the pictures in America where it's legal to do that. But this shows you the continued tightening of the power in England. But it's not just England, it's all of Europe, it's all of the EU. Like, you guys got to wake up. Again, this is these ruling families, this is the elite that are trying to hobble us as a westernized society. It's the reason why they're trying to push out Christianity, so we don't all have one unifying voice. So we don't have all one unifying thing to linchpin us all together. That's why they're trying to get rid of Christianity. Don't let them play in your face and tell you anything is different. Don't let them tell you, oh, it's so because diversity is strength or inclusion this or whatever that. It's none of that. It's because if they can take away the one identity that so many of us have, that's cooperative overall together, that links us all together, then they can more easily dominate us. There's a thing on the internet right now, and it essentially says, if you keep going down rabbit holes and you haven't ended up at Christ, then you haven't gone far enough. Because at the end of the day, all of these evil plots, all of these evil plans are against the Lord, our Father in heaven. That's what it is. It's Satanism, it's Luciferianism, it's all of this other stuff to turn us away from the Lord, our Father, and to turn us away from Christ Jesus, the Messiah. And we must stand up and we must actually say no more. Because if we don't say that and we don't stand up now, nobody else is going to. Hit the like, hit the share, spread this out there. Don't cost you nothing. Drop a comment. We'll do our best to pop it up on the screen. If you want to support, check out the side of the screen right there, or check out below right there in the little banner. Okay? Anything you can. And if you're on the radio listening to us and you want to support the radio show, You can go to Patreon and go to Rochester Free Radio, and you can donate there. Donate $100, donate $25, whatever you can, and just put The Divide with Marcus C. Williams in the comments so they know what you're donating for, and you can do support like that too. But if you're online, either of these over here or down there. Okay? It's so important that we have these important conversations. And I really relish being able to have this conversation with you online and on the radio every Monday from 2:30 to 4 p.m. I wish we had more time because there's just so much stuff to talk about that we need to talk about more stuff. Like, I don't even have enough time to really get into a lot of the business stuff that we really need to talk about and what's happening with the financial system, like what just happened over Black Friday, over the holiday weekend, over Cyber Monday. Tomorrow's Pink Tuesday, you know. So we had this spending holiday, and people are like, "Oh, nobody's at the retailers. Oh, we're protesting. We're doing a blackout. We're not spending any money." That was nonsense. Leftist liberals trying to crush our economy, but that didn't work anyway. The sales are up. The sales just aren't in store anymore. They're online, and this is a terrifying trend because it shows you of all of those supply chain jobs that go into supplying stores, retail businesses, and stuff like that are sure to go away very soon. We need to wake up and pay attention to what's going on, you guys. I was looking at a commercial the other day for DoorDash, and DoorDash is like, "Oh, we'll deliver your stuff from the store. You can buy last minute gifts for Christmas on DoorDash." What? That's kind of crazy. That's kind of crazy. And we need to have a conversation about that. But nobody really wants to have a conversation about that. Hit the like button, hit the share button. It don't cost you nothing. Get the message out there. And as we have this conversation about the funding, I want to go back 2 seconds to talk about the leftists trying to crash our economy. Like, let's be realistic. If these Democrats, if these leftists really were able to say, "Oh, well, nobody's going out to buy anything on Black Friday or all throughout the weekend so that we can hurt the big retailers and the corporations," do you know what would happen if that was actually successful? Because I don't think people understand. What would happen is it would be an immediate shock to our financial system. Okay? And what would happen? That means that companies that have loans out, many of them would default on loans. That means many people wouldn't get paid because there's not enough money coming in for them to get paid. That'd put more financial burden on and strain on a number of different establishments that are already suffering, and then what would happen? It'd be a collapse. They could very well collapse the whole economy, which a lot of them are pushing for this socialism and communism. And I'd love for you to go look up who were the Bolsheviks and how the Bolsheviks got in power in Russia and who they were really. Okay. More history there with these European people that call themselves Jews. And the question is, are they really? You understand what I'm saying? Or is that a mask that they're wearing to deceive everyone? And they're just of the synagogue of Satan. Can we have that conversation? I think we need to. We desperately need to now more than ever. But go look at that. They killed 100 million people, 100 million Christians. I think they officially say it's 10 million, but it was way more than that. It was way more than that. It was a complete extermination, because you got to remember how big Russia was. Okay. And it's a much larger conversation, and that can go into a conversation about the Tartarian Empire, So, but this is important to have a conversation about, and we need to, because somebody does. And if you don't know about the Tartarian Empire, you need to go look it up. Some people will say, "Oh, well, it's not real," or whatever the case is. I'm fairly certain that some of the concept there is real. Something there really happened. There was a giant empire that used to be on maps. It was called Tartaria. That is no longer talked about in history, and we need to start to ask the question as to why. Okay, we know about the Khan, and we know about the Hun, and we know about the Mughal Empire, but we don't really hear about the Mughal Empire, and we need to talk about that more in relation to Tartaria. So, but anyway, real conversations about real stuff and real history that seems to somehow just get swept away and swept under the rug. Like, again, these aren't conspiracy theories. These are conspiracy facts. And this is from the information that we know that we know. Like, there's a lot of stuff that's out there that's been hidden, that's been secreted away. Like, if y'all watch me, y'all know I'm not a fan of the Smithsonian. I can't stand them people. They always trying to rewrite some history, hide some information, hide some archaeological finds, like how they closed off the Grand Canyon. Go look into that. Okay, go look into the Smithsonian closing off the Grand Canyon from people going in certain parts of it and excavating certain parts of that. Go down that rabbit hole. Okay. And how we can't talk about giants in our country, even though in every other country in the world, they know about giants. But in the US, you can't talk about it. Even if you go to Mexico, they got giants in the museums. But we can't talk about that here in the US. It's got to be something that's, oh, you can't talk about that. That's not real. And they got people really believing that that's not real. Because if they knew that it was real, we'd know that the Bible is closer to being true than it is to being wrong. And then more people might actually come to Christ, and they want to lead everybody away from Christ. We used to know in this country that giants existed. Up to Abraham Lincoln, we got documented proof of people talking about the giants. You understand what I'm saying? He was talking about the giants. Like, can we not have these serious conversations? You read the people who first started to land on the shores of the East Coast, and you read about them talking about giants. You read the travelers that are so renowned throughout the world, throughout the, the age of exploration. You read their stuff. They talk about all of these different people that they ran into with heads in their chests and all types of crazy nonsense and giants and this and that, and people that we don't even know exist anymore or are since long exterminated. I don't know, bro. It's too many coincidences for everything to be a coincidence. And that's why we need to talk about these things, but you can't, because they try to hide information. They try to scuttle information, because if we really saw that everything is to direct us away from Christ, then we'd know that it is a problem. We'd know that it is a problem. We'd know that it's an evil attack on society and on the world to usher in the Antichrist so that we all fall prey under a small collectivized group of individuals, and we are subservient to them, and we live under a authoritarian rule. But can we have that conversation? We need to. We really need to. But nobody wants to, because that's too much like real. And what they do is they distract you with everyday issues. That's why the inflation is so high. That's why the cost of everything is so high, because they know if you have time to yourself, to think to yourself about what's really going on, that you would know that things are not as they seem and things are not as they say, and that you're being shafted. But that's why they distract us with everything. Like I said, the Islamists, it's a distraction. It's a real problem, but it's also being used as a distraction. The illegal aliens, it's a big and real problem, but it's also a distraction. Okay? They're dividing us and our attention in different ways, because the more they divide our attention, the more issues there are. I've been hearing reports of more NATO people coming in and joining different National Guard forces. Now, I don't know how long y'all guys have been in conspiracy land or whatever, but if you've been there a while, you may know that there is a NATO plan to take over the United States by putting NATO troops inside the United States. So hearing these reports just makes me recall stuff like that. So they want to break us up. They've already got us chopped up into different divisions and parts of the nation as far as the UN is concerned, and NATO and stuff like this. Like, we really have to pay attention to what goes on in the UN and these world and powerful organizations so that we know what time it is. Because if we're not paying attention, if we're not willing to talk about it, nobody's going to talk about it. Nobody is going to talk about it. And we must talk about it. We must talk about it now, because all of it is an issue, and we have to start chipping away at the dominoes one by one by one before the whole thing collapses on us, because that's their goal. Their goal is to collapse everything on us so that we are crushed by the force of the impending disaster. That's why we must stand. That's why we must rise up. And that's why I encourage you to have heart and have faith. And if you don't know Jesus Christ as your Lord and Savior, please read the New Testament and then read the Old Testament, okay? Jesus is the way to the Lord, our Father in heaven, and he will lead you in the right direction. Please turn to Jesus. We have to repent as a nation, and we can get back to prosperity and to righteousness. But we have to get rid of all of these people that are trying to push perversion and nonsense on us. And I wish I had more time because I'd like to talk about an incident that happened to me today, but I don't have enough time. So I encourage you guys, have heart, be strong, stand up, speak up, and don't shut up. Take action. Y'all be blessed and be well. I'll catch you guys next Tuesday, 2:30 to 4 p.m. on WRFZ 106.3 Rochester Free Radio. This is The Divide with Marcus C. Williams, and we will be there in your ear next week, having the conversations that you need to hear. Be blessed and be well. All right, you guys. Thank you guys for tuning in online. Okay, please do donate, okay, and support the show. On the sides right there, you can see how to donate through Cash App or Venmo, PayPal. Those are also options. It's also right down there below, okay? So please donate whatever you can, whether it's $25, whether it's $500, whether it's $5. Do whatever you can. Help support the show so we can get the message out to more people. We'd actually like to get more airtime and do a longer show or a whole nother show. But we got to get the funding to get it out to more people. We are self-funded right now. So help us out. Sponsor us. And we'll catch up with you guys soon, because I really want to talk about a lot more things, but we don't always have a lot of time. And I want to do some more stuff online so that we can have more conversations, more shows during the week, so that we can have a more cohesive perspective on everything that's going on in the world, especially in the U.S. I could fill up 3 hours with just what happened in United States politics in the last weekend alone. Just over the weekend. I'm not even talking about for the week, like just the last weekend alone. I'm really concerned about Kash Patel and Pam Bondi. Okay, I'm really concerned about that. We'll see what happens with them. I hope they get right, but they ain't getting right now. And I'm concerned about a number of other things also in this administration. Like we talked earlier about the 50-year mortgages. That's a serious issue, but nobody's talking about that. I'm very much concerned about the expansion of the surveillance state with Palantir. That's a very big problem. You got Andril, okay, the weapons company and stuff like that. And you got all of these other PayPal mafia people, Elon Musk and stuff like that are doing all of these things inside our government, manipulating our government, okay? And I know people are like, oh, well, Elon Musk, I love him. Since when? You know what I'm saying? Because he's a champion of free speech. Because he's conservative. He's not conservative. He's not Republican. You understand what I'm saying? Like, these are important things and conversations we need to have, but nobody's having them. Him and his cronies and the rest of the gang, all of these people that are tied to J.D. Vance, okay, don't trust him, y'all. I'm trying to warn you now. He's a technocrat. He's in bed with all of these people that are in the PayPal mafia. Elon Musk, Peter Thiel, go look up Peter Thiel, look up Oracle, okay? What's the guy? Oh, I can see his weird face. I forget his name. The Palantir guy and the rest of them, all of the PayPal mafia. Just go look up the PayPal mafia, y'all. All of those people are now being tied into our government in different positions and contracts and stuff like that. It's very dangerous, the direction that we're going. Also, don't trust the South Africans, okay, because the South Africans, okay, the ones that were the white people in the South Africans from the National Party, remember, it's called the National Party. They are part of the Nazi regime that's just carried over to South Africa. And if you don't believe me, go and look into the history of the National Party in South Africa. Okay, it's not called the National Party for no reason. It's the same reason that the Nazis were called National Socialist Workers, German Workers' Party. It's the same people. It's the same con game again and again. And now they're pervading themselves inside the United States government. Okay, and I don't care how you feel about the Nazis. I feel very much some sort of way about these foreigners implanting themselves in our government. And they don't have any allegiance to anybody except for themselves. Except for themselves. And that's the first thing. And then we can talk about the Nazi history of them. You understand what I'm saying? So it's really a serious conversation we need to have, but nobody wants to have those serious conversations. That's why it is such a blessing to be able to have these real conversations with you. And I want you to hit the subscribe button, hit the follow button. It doesn't cost you anything because we need to have more of these important conversations. And as we go on, I'm warning you guys so heartily about JD Vance. I'd warn you more about Vivek Ramaswamy also. Okay, these people are very, very dangerous inside our government, inside the Republican Party, tearing us asunder from within. They are nothing but servants of the elite, of the technocrats. Go look in, I'm telling you, look into it. Don't believe me because I'm saying it. Believe me because I'm telling you. Go look into it. Look it up. That's why I always tell people, go look it up. You know, it's very important. I can lead you to the water, but you got to make your choice to drink or not. You know, it's like red pill or blue pill. You know, you take one, you stay in the matrix, you take the other and you realize what really is going on. We need people to really realize what's going on so we can start to push back against what's going on. We got digital ID coming up, y'all. Like, are y'all ready for that? Digital ID? Like, we didn't even get a chance to talk about that on this episode because, again, like I said, there's just so much stuff. So much stuff that needs to be talked about. Digital ID was just launched last week on the Apple platform. So now you can download it and put your ID on there and everything. But we got it in New York State already where you can download a digital version of your ID. This is dangerous. We are in a march right towards totalitarianism, just like China, just like a surveillance state. And now Palantir is putting all of their AI, digital prediction programming and software to create better profiles of you and manipulate you even more and track you even more. Soon they'll be putting a social credit score on you. Have you been a good citizen? Have you talked bad about the government? Have you said something that the government doesn't like? Maybe we should shut down your money. Maybe we should shut down where you can live. Maybe you should only be able to talk to these people. Maybe you shouldn't be able to talk to nobody. Maybe everybody should blacklist you. Like, we need to wake people up. Go look up China and their social credit score, because that's the direction that we're going in the United States with this Palantir and this digital ID and all of this. The next step is they're going to crash the currency so that they can push us full on into digital currency. We're already looking at a collapse of our currency as it is. People need to wake up. No, I'm not trying to sell you no gold company. I'm just trying to put you on to what's really going on. And this is what's really going on. The next step is to try to crash the dollar. And then what they'll do is they'll reevaluate the value of the gold, and then they'll put it onto cryptocurrency or something like that to use a cryptocurrency as a new US digital dollar. And that'll be everything. If you look at Vietnam, they just shut down 87 million, yeah? 87 million people's accounts in Vietnam, their bank accounts, because they didn't want to take the digital ID. They didn't want that. Then they shut down a whole bunch of people's accounts in what's the other country right next to Vietnam? I forget. Excuse me, because I don't want to give you guys faulty information. But there's another country right over there that just shut down like a couple million people's accounts too, because they didn't want the digital ID. And we're talking about stuff that happened in like the last 2-3 weeks. Like, this is happening now, right now. Wake up. England's talking about they're going to put digital ID in place before the closed session of Parliament. That it means now, right? Like, I'm pretty sure the last session of Parliament ends this year, right now before New Year's. Okay, maybe it ends next year in the next couple of months, but it ends very soon. And they're already pushing that. And we have to be concerned and see what's happening over there. And you got, what's his name? What's the guy that's the prime minister over there right now in England? Oh, I can see his face. Oh, I don't like that man. I forget his name. Anyway, drop his name in the comment if you remember his name. But anyway, it's slipping my mind right now. But him, he's like, oh, well, you won't be able to buy or sell anything unless you have the digital ID. All of your money to be able to work in the UK, you have to have a digital ID. It's all about safety and security. We'll even put your shoppers bonus points on your digital ID. What? Stop. I read a book. It's called the Bible. It's in the book of Revelation. It talks about this. This is very close to the mark of the beast. This is ushering in that. I'm trying to tell you guys, they're trying to make it appear like it is the end of the world, and it is not the end of the world, because we know not when the end times is. But we need to get ready right now, and we need to stay ready so that we don't have to prepare to be ready. Because what they are doing right now to us as the citizens of the world is actively working against all of us. And if we do not stand up and if we do not speak up now, the next time that we're able to do something, it is going to cost us massively in blood and life. Massively. And I don't want that to happen, but that is the end of the road of the direction that we are going in if we don't stand up now. I don't know if people are really ready for what's coming. So all I can do is give the information to you and work on changing my little square of the universe where I am here in Rochester, New York, and Monroe County in New York. Because it starts here where I am. That's why I'm active, very active here, locally and politically where I am, because I want to stave off all of these issues that are coming. I presented plans to City Council on having us have a gold and silver depository for actual reserves that our citizens can actually buy into. Okay, because I see what's happening with this digital currency, and we need that localized currency distribution. You know, as long as it's gold and silver, tender gold and silver in the Constitution, it must be accepted for all payments of debts and types of currency. Okay, like we need to wake up. This is really, really real and serious. I've also pushed a number of things that stop the surveillance and the expansion of the surveillance. We got the flock cameras and the wireless surveillance right now going on. Like y'all need to look into the flock cameras. I've been warning about that for some years. If y'all been following me for some time, you know I've been talking about that. I've been warning about the biometric scans and stuff like that. All of these are conversations that we really need to have, but nobody's really talking about. That's why I'm pushing so hard to encourage more people to hear about it, to learn about it, to go look it up, to share my videos with their friends. I don't think that you're going to like everything that I got to say. I don't think that you're going to agree with me on everything that I got to say, but I promise you there's a lot of value in everything that I got to say. And if you listen to enough of what I'm talking about, you'll understand exactly what I'm on about, and you'll agree with a lot of things if you go look it up. And look it up before it's too late, because right now Israel is buying the search results on Google and in Chat GPT and with other platforms so that they can actually make them more favorable to Israel. And that is a known fact. That's not like fiction. That's not like somebody talking. That's not like anti-Semitism or any of that. That is a real fact. Israel is buying these search results from these companies. They're paying them to make Israel look more favorable in the search results. So when you ask it a query or anything like that, it's going to prop up stuff. Like there are certain questions you can ask about anybody else, but if you ask it about Israel or if you ask it about the Jews, it'll say, I'm sorry, I can't answer that question. Stop it. Stop, people. You got to wake up. We got to save our nation, because if we don't, nobody else is going to. We got to right now. We got to stand up. We got to save America. We got to push back against these bankers. We got to push back against these Islamists. We got to push back against these people these atheists and Luciferians and Satan worshipers and stuff, trying to push Christianity out of our government. We got to push back against these people trying to tell the boys that they don't have to be boys and the boys that they can be girls and all of this other nonsense. We got to push back against all of that. All of that. There are so many things that we got to push back against. You're like, well, Marcus, where do we start? Locally. Go to a city council meeting, go to a school board meeting, get out there, meet other people, find more like-minded individuals. Because what they're going to start doing is they're going to start shutting down communication and making it more difficult for us to communicate. I need you guys to remember this very, very, very explicitly. The government controls the internet and they control the electricity. As long as the government can control the internet and the electricity, they control all means of communications pretty much. They also control the radio waves and the radio frequencies. You understand? We got to wake up. We got to wake up now. It's imperative that we stand up, speak up, and don't shut up. Take action. I'll catch you guys later. Be blessed and be well.